Welcome to my awesome Friday evening. You guys, you're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm going to tell you, this show is about some really fun stuff. This show is about bringing outlandish and interesting topics to the forefront, from aliens, angels, ghost demons, conspiracy theories, shadow people, to Bigfoot, to the outlandish. I always say, if it's weird, we're here, and now you are too. So, hey, you're among friends, everybody. If you do not know who I am, I'm going to tell you right now. Count to 3. 1. When it comes to the outlandish, I'm someone who has been there, seen that, experienced it, freaked out, found some answers, I think, wrote about it, got over it, and now I'm hoping to help others do the same darn thing and understand this crazy world of ours. So, if you do dare, go to my main website, which is HeidiHollis.com. There's so much stuff on there, I swear. My parents have not even seen half of it. I think they're still proud, though. I want to tell you guys also how you can hear this program. You can hear this show through the IRN app, and that is the Inception Radio Network app. And most people tend to listen to the program that way, which is all good. But we are also launched on iHeartRadio recently, and the numbers just grow and grow. And I want to also tell you guys how you can hear this program with a simple phone call, 401-283-6700. And it is a magical thing, especially if you don't want to fuss with the internet, or if your internet is fussy. And I welcome you guys to call into the program, 1-888-919-2355, or Skype your comments and questions to Inception Radio Network. And I take your questions through the chat room. Just go to irnchat.com, and you will find others in there who can chat things up with you about anything and everything out of the ordinary. It's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, right now I can't get in there. I've got some issues because my internet is fussy. Uh-oh, I hear banging going on. I think somebody's collapsing. But no, I also want to tell you guys. I also want to tell you guys about my comic strip. I want to thank you guys for so much support. The comic is growing, the Outlanders comic. So go to the outlanderscomic.com or go to inceptionradionetwork.com, and you could go and find on the main page right there so much information. It's amazing. And you could also find some things to laugh about with the comic there. So, I mean, I've been really, really appreciative of all the positive feedback about the comic. So, now, I want to tell you guys, I'm going to forego the Outlandish Corner for a very good reason today. And I'm still hearing some banging, but I'm going to tell you some, mute it up. About the Outlandish Corner, because one of my favorite things is to take your comments and questions and experiences about everything that you guys are experiencing out there. I get a ton of stuff about shadow people, Hat Man, aliens, but I am open to absolutely 100% everything out of the ordinary. So honestly, I'm not a guru, I'm not a psychic, but I do my best to give some level-headed advice. So write me at dustoutlander@gmail.com, and I will definitely keep taking your messages, and we will get to that. But there's a reason why I'm foregoing the Outlandish Corner today, because I was chatting with a good friend of mine who was, I don't know what she's doing. It's a whole lot of something going on, but I have Mary Sutherland on this evening for the first half of this program. Mary, how are you doing, girlfriend? What is going on? What happened to the mute button?
Well, I don't like the mute button. People can't hear me.
Well, they heard everything.
They can't hear me dropping things and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay, but how are you doing? I mean, we had an interesting chat this not too long ago, and I'm like, you have got to come on my show and talk about what is happening in your neck of the woods. But first off, I don't have your bio, so I figured I'd let you kind of introduce yourself about who you are, what you do, and why we're delving into the topic we are today.
Well, okay. Geez, who am I? Well, that's a good question. I guess that kind of depends on who you're talking with, huh? Can you guys hear me well enough?
We hear you perfectly fine. So do introduce yourself. I blow people's minds.
Well, as everybody knows, everything is connected, interconnected. So it used to be that I would work on a project and and I'd be interested, then another project would come along that was totally different. Like I'd be working on UFOs, and then all of a sudden something would happen and it'd be paranormal. So I'd work on that. Then something else would happen, I'd be working like ancient mound builders or something. And they says, Mary, you got to focus here. You got to concentrate on one subject. I says, I can't because it's all interconnected. It all flows together. So anyhow, I kind of stuck with that principle all through the years and probably drove quite a lot of people nuts trying to explain who I am, what I am. But
I can totally relate.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got 7 books. I got a 5-book series on In Search of Ancient Man. I have a spirituality book called Living in the Light, Believe in the Magic. I have a paranormal book called Haunted Burlington, Wisconsin. And then I have just a kind of a fun book, and it's based on the mysteries of Burlington and southeastern Wisconsin, which now I have to extend into Illinois since now this is where I live now. I used to have for how many years? God, 6 years I think it was. The Sci-Fi Cafe, 6 years or longer, maybe 10.
And that was a lot of fun. I mean, you really attracted a lot of cool, interesting people and conversation there, and conferences, I might add.
Right. And, well, we always had that, the ambiance was that it was okay to talk about. It was like a safety zone for everyone. Where, how you go out there and you try talking to people, or you're in a cafe or something, try bringing up a conversation, UFOs, paranormal, everybody looks at you as crazy. But everybody in the area knew that when they came to Sci-Fi Cafe, they had friends and people of like minds around them. So, they were always there, and got to talk about everything. And even some normal stuff every once in a while. And so it was a place, it was like a sanctuary. And it was good because at that point in time, there really wasn't that many places available that you could actually feel at ease going someplace, meeting friends and talking, about the, Bigfoot, cryptids, the various cryptids, UFOs or whatever. So, and then we used to have conferences there and all different types of meetups. And I got a lot. Actually, that's where I met you, Heidi.
It sure is.
Yeah, I just got thinking about that. Yeah.
Well, UFO days as well in Dundee.
Oh yeah, I had BUFO radio for 16 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now
awesome.
Now I'm pulling back all those shows using Facebook live stream and YouTube. And so, and people get to interact, before this radio show, now they can, they've got like the little chat room, they can go into, listen to the show, visit with me, ask questions, and then we put it out as an archive show, on Facebook and YouTube. So, and
awesome.
Twitter. It actually goes out on Twitter now too.
And your awesome Haunted Woods.
I didn't even know my shows were going through Twitter, but then I realized that my Twitter account was hooked up to my Facebook account. So,
which is awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of a plus.
So you're out there, and the Haunted Woods tours that you give are.
Oh yeah, and I do the see. And I also do haunted tours and sacred site tours now, and we've been doing pretty good with the tours this year. even though we've been having so much rain and floods. I was really concerned over how many mosquitoes we were going to have out there, but it hasn't been bad at all, and that really surprises me because you're kind of walking through a swampy area in the woods with all this and flooding going on. You would think that we would have been ate alive, but they've been kind to us for
Awesome.
No complaints here on that.
So we had the wonderful little conversation today in regards to a very bothersome but fascinating topic at the same time. So tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods in regards to, I don't know, it just boggles the mind. That's all I can say. It boggles the mind what's going on over there. So do share. Okay.
So I have to give the credit to one of my researchers, Kat Holm. She still lives in Burlington, and she came across a newspaper the newspaper was, it was posted by Ed Nadoyski. And anyhow, I'm going to read it, okay? Because that's what kind of sets everything off, right?
Sounds good, yes.
Okay. Now, is there a way that I can put pictures through here into the chat room?
Not that I'm aware of, but you can place it on your Facebook page and then just link it on over.
Okay, that's how I'll do it then. But anyhow, there's this great big picture, on the paper, and it shows all these dump trucks and backhoes and I don't know, a whole bunch of different types of construction with a big old yellow and white sign and the cones and a big old sign that says road closed. And the title of the article that was written was No Bones About It. Street project delay will benefit pool project. So they actually wrote it up as, see, this is how strange the universe works. You make plans to do one thing, but then the universe, it has its way of,
redirecting your plans.
Just kind of like what happened here tonight with your guest.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, we'll see.
So anyhow, first of all comes this big old picture of them tearing up the road in Burlington. And I had told Brad, because that Burlington got hit harder than any place else with that flood.
Yeah.
And, and I told Brad, I says, with those underground tunnels that Burlington's got and those mounds and I says, don't be surprised if that flood doesn't wash up some artifacts of some sort. And so, that's just about what happened, too, because underneath that picture, it says, hold on, I got to bring it up, your little boxes right there. Crews from Riesman Excavating work on the reconstruction of Kendall Street in Burlington, Tuesday. The city has approved using discarded material from the project to fill in low areas of the proposed aquatic center site. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking the fill out of this and taking it to this aquatic center that they're building and using it there. Okay? So, now this guy's the editor-in-chief. I don't have the, for some reason I forgot to put the newspaper name on it, darn it. Editor-in-chief. What could have been a costly delay in the reconstruction of Kendall Street will likely end up saving Burlington taxpayer money on the construction of a new aquatic center, a city official said. Okay. The costly delay was because of the flooding, right?
Right.
$1.1 million street project, which includes replacement of water and sewer service lines and reconstruction of the roadway, came to the grinding halt in late April when the project contractor Reisman's excavating unearthed what appeared to be human bones. City Administrator Karina Walters said. Officials reported the findings, which led to the state-mandated work stoppage until this could be investigated by the Wisconsin State Historical Society. Okay, Walters said. The investigation revealed records of prehistoric burial grounds in the area. Walters noted in a memo circulated by the city council members. It is approximately 6 weeks after the work was halted before the city received notice from the State Historical Society to resume the project. I think at first when we realized it was at a standstill, our thinking was, how can we maximize this? Walters said. We took something that wasn't a good situation and we'll be able to maximize it. What she means is, because of the delay, the city will now be able to use the rubble generated, or in other words, the bones, the skeletal remains a burial site. Well, so she calls it rubble generated by the demolition of the roadway to be used as filling for the site of the planned new aquatic center in Dever Park.
That just blows the mind. Blows the mind.
Yeah. Well, you can about imagine what it did for me. Okay. Let's see. So discovery could be. Okay, hold on.
So this pavement, she's not talking about the pavement they upturned. No, she's talking about the whole shebang.
Yeah, because see, what happened was when that flood came through, they probably had it at a certain point dug down so they could lay their pavement, right?
Right.
But because you can see by the road on the picture that any, like cement and all that stuff had already been removed. Okay.
Okay.
So what they're talking about is when that flood came through and they had dug down so deep, it pushed the bones out of the mounds. And they were basically floating in the foundation part of the road.
Wild.
So they had, yeah.
Rubble. You mean the rubble was rolling down the street.
And so they had to have dug enough because they had hit because they were taking it down into the sewer lines too. So anyhow, they dug in there and they didn't say historic remains, which would be a big difference because that would be Native American. They said prehistoric. That would mean the mound builders.
My goodness. Have bones been recovered before from the mounds?
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that.
Okay. Let's do.
Okay, so let me.
I love it.
So let me finish what this has to say. So the investigation. So it was approximately 6 weeks. Or no, I think at first when we realized it was at a standstill, our thinking was, how can we maximize this? We took something that wasn't a good situation. We were able to maximize it. What she means is, because of the delay, the city will now be able to use the rubble generated by the demolition of the roadway to begin filling the site of the planned new aquatic center in Dever Park. In her memo, Walters said the pool project required about 13,500 cubic yards of imported material to fill the low spots in the park to accommodate the new pool. And by using this fill, from this mound, from Kendall Street, rather than importing it from remote sites, they'll be able to save $200,000.
Oh, gosh.
To accommodate the work, the City Council on Tuesday approved a change order in the contract with Reisman's. The contract will be paid an additional $137,386 to prepare the pool site, to receive the fill and transport the fill from Kendall Street to the pool site. The greatest portion of that expense, $60,615, will be for the transport of 13,500 cubic yards of fill from Kendall Street to DeVore Park. An additional $9,788 is for site preparation, $15,801 is for erosion control, and $51,000 for site work. The funding for the change order will come from $5.4 million earmarked for pool construction, according to the city. Walter says they will take up to 2 weeks to prepare the pool site, including installing a construction fence to separate the current pool from the fill area before the project can proceed.
My goodness.
Okay. So anyhow, and now see, there's a federal law against destroying an ancient mound or a burial site.
All right.
That's a federal law against that. And the thing is, instead of them contacting the state historical or the state archaeological department, they contacted the state historical society. And so they found a means around it, you might say.
I see what you're saying.
And,
wow.
Yeah. And so anyhow, I have the pictures and everything. But she says, I think it's good forward progress for the community to see. Well, it's like, I don't think so.
So these are prehistoric bones.
These are prehistoric. These are the ones that I have been trying to prove for 16 years or nearly 2 decades that actually were in Burlington.
And now they've been unearthed. Now, they were unearthed before, though, you're saying?
Yes, but never documented. This is the first time we've actually had documentation in print, supported by the State Historical Society and the City Council and in this newspaper, that these are, in fact, prehistoric remains.
Unbelievable.
And prehistoric remains is not Native American Indian.
Huh. Wow. So, and I didn't realize that you'd been trying all these years to try to prove, yes, these bones exist somewhere. We just got to get to them. Wow. That's wild.
Well, yeah, that's why everything started for me, is because I was trying to prove out the underground tunnels system and to prove this ancient race. And that's what most of my books are about, is In Search of Ancient Man, which is the Hokadesh. Well, when the Indians came to this area, they said that there was giants living in the land, that were white-skinned, red-haired giants. And they were told the name of them. These people were called the Hokadesh. And the Hokadesh, let's see, and they said that the population was as thick as the leaves on the trees. Now, this is why we have the Serpent Ridge, because the Serpent Ridge in the Haunted Woods and that sacred circle up there, those were all man-made, but I could never prove it.
Wow.
Because I had contacted, they found about, 15 years ago, they had found a skull when they were digging out the foundation for Kmart, I think it was.
My goodness. Just so you know, Mary, that we did get the other person on the line. So we got 5 minutes, but
okay,
what I'm blown away with the information. Do you think these are the red-haired giants that you've written about?
Yes, they have to be. They have to be. These are the ones that the Strangite Mormons wrote about, saying that they were. Well, now the Mormons claim that they were like the lost people of Israel, but as they drew them out, they look. They had the roach hair. They had. They were pagan, nature worshipers, and they had the tattoos, and they were definitely white-skinned. And so, anyhow, so that goes to show you that the work that the Mormons did in that area to prove out these giants was true as well. This whole article that I put together, or that was given to me, and I'm putting everything now, I'm trying to collate all my work on it, because it's being picked up now by a senator, a local senator. And he is on it, told me not to worry about it, that he is going to contact the governors, the Congress people. He is contacting everybody, and he's going to get this stopped. And even if that swimming pool, the aquatic center, is built, they can always, put out a warrant, take them to court and force them to tear that aquatic center down to get those remains out of there.
Unbelievable. Who would want to swim on the bones of prehistoric findings?
Nobody's going to know that. And remember how I've been trying to prove out that pyramid that we have in Burlington,
yes,
that flat top period?
Right.
These are the same people that built that pyramid. So anyhow, all my work is all closing together.
You must have goosebumps. I mean, come on. This is huge. And to be so close, Mary, and not rush down there to the site and just grab a bone must be like agonizing.
Well, the funny part is they're allowing all this to happen, even though that they know that they're prehistoric bones. But if I so much as went down there and got one little shard, that I would be in federal jail.
But they can do it.
Prison, because it's against the law for us to touch them.
So is everything halted right now? I mean, what are they doing?
Well, I don't know. I have a researcher down there in Burlington, and she's going to go and start talking to a few people. And plus that, now I'm working with Dan Zen, and his it was through my luck meeting Dan Zen, that his first cousin that he's very, very close to happens to be the senator that's interested in the preservation of the earthen mounds.
Wow. So in Wisconsin, Burlington, Wisconsin, we may have a true prehistoric finding that is unprecedented, to be honest.
Yeah, it's never, this is big. If it gets handled right, this can be big. And you know me, when I get a hold of something, I handle it right. And we've got now that we've got Dan's first cousin, the senator, he told me, he says he wants to get right on it, get all the information put together, and he is chomping at the bits.
How can people keep in touch with you and keep apprised of the progress that you're making on this?
They can go to facebook.com/Mary Sutherland. The best way to do it, no, I'm sorry, that was wrong anyhow. Facebook.com/groups/Mary Sutherland.
And BurlingtonNews.com?
Or they can go to BurlingtonNews.net.
.net. All righty. Well, I hate to say we got to go, Mary. I'm glad we got that squeezed in there. Thank you so much for joining me. This is awesome.
This is totally awesome. Totally.
Oh, my gosh. I will keep in touch and keep apprised. Maybe we'll just have to do a full show on it. You guys, we got to go to a break. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering always, if it's weird, we're here. We're giving you advice and insight on outlandish topics. Phone lines are always open at 1-888-919-2355. But I am aware that most of you listen to us through the app or iHeart when we're not live. So it's all good. It's all good. I have another fantastic guest that's joining us right now. I'm going to introduce him. James Schwartz is a Board Certified Hypnotherapist and an NLP practitioner. He is certified by the National Guild of Hypnotists and a member of the Colorado Association of Psychotherapists. James is the founder and director of the Rocky Mountain Hypnotherapy Center in Lakewood, Colorado, and is certified in Complementary Medical Hypnosis. Wow. HypnoBirthing, NeuroLinguistic programming, and he's a graduate of Cal State Dominguez Hills and San Diego State University. James is a gifted teacher, speaker, writer, and musician. He's also the author of One Voice, Sacred Wisdom, and The Mind-Body Fertility Connection. Everybody, a round of applause for James Schwartz. Woo! They are going mental, James. How's it going this evening? How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Life is fantastic.
Good.
My goodness. So you touch on something that I don't usually chat on this program, though I could more. Hypnosis, hypnotherapy in general is something that I believe goes hand in hand with the mystery called this life and how to tap into different elements of this life. And it's kind of a unique area, and it's one of those things that it exists. You can't put it in your hands, but you know it's there, and somehow you're able to grasp it in other ways. So I'm curious, how do you describe the whole thing of hypnosis?
Well,
if you have a Lowe's Advantage card, you can get an extra 5% off every day on items big or small. So you can save an extra 5% on a new coat of paint, updating appliances, replacing the flooring, and even save an extra 5% on little things like cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, and air filters. The big to-dos to the everyday essentials. You get an extra 5% savings every day when you use your Lowe's Advantage card. If you don't have one, apply today. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Subject to credit approval and can't be combined with any other credit offers. Exclusions apply. See store for details. U.S. only.
Well, hypnosis, the best way to look at it is a way of working with the subconscious mind. What happens is we try and kind of just divert the attention of the critical or conscious mind out of the way. That way we can focus on the subconscious mind, and that seems to be where all the roots of our issues are. All our stuff is, all our preconceived ideas and notions and beliefs that we have in our lifetime. So it's kind of a direct way to work on people's issues without any interference.
That's interesting. It's a little bit hard to hear. I don't know if you could pull your mic up a little bit. like I kind of hear you, but well, that makes sense. To me, it's almost like a vault of an inner self that we may want to look at, but then sometimes we may regret if we look at it. And it's like, well, how can we filter that? Is there really any kind of control in being able to filter what it is you reveal about yourself in a hypnotic session?
Well, in the session, the client is actually in control the entire time. So, I joke with clients and say, you're not going to tell me where you've hidden that money in your backyard. They're not going to do things like that, where they just let things go like that. So they're in control of things, but usually by the time they come to see a hypnotherapist to work on some of the deeper issues, and that might be things like anxiety or anger or fears or phobias, they're wanting to really make a change. And a lot of them are saying, let's do it, and let's do it, in a big way. And so by just going to the source or the roots of what's going on, we get it results much quicker and results that are really life-changing.
Now, in your book, One Voice, Sacred Wisdom, you explore into something I find absolutely fascinating, is digging into other realms, other realities, and other, forms that we take and that others can take. How do you explain what exactly we're reaching into when you say another realm? People say dimensions. It's like, well, what is it? I mean, again, we can't put it in our hands. So what are we talking about?
Well, when I first started this, I guess I should go back and say, about 2 years ago, what I did was I spent 2 years with hypnosis clients, having them communicate with their guides. And those guides could be like angels or spirit guides or animal guides or ancestors. And I would ask questions like, what happens when we die? Is there such a thing as karma? How do we heal ourselves? Those kinds of things. And when I asked about what happens when we die, the the consensus, and when I say consensus, there was a lot of agreement with the guides, was when we die, the body just kind of falls away, but our spirit or our energy or our essence or higher self, whatever you want to call it, continues on. And then I would say, well, okay, continues on where? And that's when they started talking about other realms and other dimensions.
Oh, that's fascinating. So these different layers of, like, I've heard literally, like, heaven is literally on earth. That's just another dimension that we personally can't see. Is this other dimension literally on the earth, or are we talking about into the ethers?
We're talking about into the ethers. And I can kind of tell you the story about how this came about, which is, I think, a really interesting story if you'd like to hear.
Please do. Yes.
Okay. So when I would talk to the guides, the way it would work is I would talk to the hypnosis client, and it was really their guides that they were communicating with. And they could get answers or communicate in 3 different ways. The first one is the client would actually sort of channel what the guides were saying. And that was kind of interesting because that means they change speech patterns, they change breathing patterns, they sometimes have an accent, they have a different inflection. So it's almost like a different person speaking through them. So that's one option. The second one is that the clients would get the answers directly from the guide. They would either hear it or they would just get it by intuition, and then they would give me the response. But the third way that the clients and the guides would communicate is the guides would actually take the client to a scene or to an experience so that the client would experience it firsthand, and then they could share that experience with me. So, for example, like I remember asking one client, how do we bring more peace to the world? How do we bring more calmness and more unity? And she said, they took me to this place where these people are holding hands and they're all singing and praying, and their intention is to really bring light and love to the planet. And that's how the question was answered. So anyway, kind of going back, what happened is I asked about what happens after we die, and I'm being told about these other realms. And I'm working with this woman that I call Danielle in the book. And I say, well, are there other planes? Are there other existences? And she just kind of lights up. Her face just lights up. And then she starts whispering, and she goes, he took me to a different plane. He, of course, is the guide. And she goes, it's very high, it's very light. And I'm going, okay, well, tell me about that. And she goes, it's very hard to talk. The frequency is very high, and the vibration is taking me time to get used to. So he shows me that's the answer to your question. He took me to where he says I work at night. Although I'm here on Earth physically, I can be in a different plane at the same time. And that kind of opened up the whole world of these other realms and planes. And then once that happened, I figured if the guide is willing and the client is willing, we're going to go to other guides and experience what our other realms and see what's going on there.
So you're saying like a duality of existence a person can have. So they could be here physically, mowing the lawn, but spiritually they can be experiencing something all new altogether?
Yes, absolutely. So that's that. Well, what they were really talking about was parallel planes. In other words, different existences that are happening at the same time. And, I have to preface this by saying I didn't really believe in this stuff when I started out, so it was kind of a new adventure for me. So I said, all right, if that's really true, let's experiment. Let's try it. And so I would have people go to these other realms and tell me about them. But they started talking about, well, there's parallel planes while you're here on this planet. So in other words, while I'm talking to you and you're the host of this radio show, you might also be like a professor in England at the same time in a different body, but that's your same spirit energy and your same, essence or higher self. And you might be, like
I'm a rock star. I don't know if you know that, but I'm just going to say it.
That could be.
Jeez. Wow, that's what, I get what you're saying, because I've personally experienced these types of things, and I could never put my finger on it because I'm like, hold it, this is not a past life memory. Especially in college when, you set your own schedule for the first time in your life. I'm living in the dormitories, and I was living such a full and complete life. When I would go to bed at night, I hated waking up the next day to this other life. And so I started sleeping sporadically, 2 hours at a time, so I didn't get so involved in where I was going because it was too heartbreaking to leave. So it's kind of fascinating to hear this, and other odd ties are popping up in my head when you're talking about this. So I'm truly intrigued. I don't know if I've heard others discuss that so in detail. So we're able to live these dual lives. It makes me, people, if you're a mom especially, you think you have enough in one life to keep busy, but now you're saying, what? This is just maddening to some, I'm sure, to hear. Or is it just how things are?
I think it's how things are, but I think it's actually kind of comforting to know, because if we have all these different existences, and it sounds like, I tried to pin them down with numbers, and the guides would say things like, well, it depends how evolved the person is, how many different experiences, how many different planes they're in. But, you might be in 100 places at the same time, but it makes you realize that this lifetime, it seems very important to us, and it is, and it's very significant. But if we have hundreds of lives going on at the same time, and, maybe tens or thousands of them going on over time, then it's not as scary to face death or know that when we transition, we just go to another place, another plane, or another, energy field, or another universe, or another planet, or something.
That is fascinating. I swear, I wish you lived closer. We could talk. We could so talk. This is just, I don't even know. I literally remember a gentleman that agreed, or the body agreed, I don't know. But if something were to happen to me, I know what I would look like. And it's in real time. It's like, if I croak here, I know where I'm going. And I even told my sister, I'm like, so if a guy says he's from here and he looks like this, that's me. She's like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, no, I don't. I'm so certain of that. And it's just so bizarre. So are others having this type of memory and reality of having this duality forward in their minds, or is it something that has to be found through hypnosis only? Have you met others that remember these things outright?
Not so much. It's really kind of something I've discovered in the process of writing.
Oh, great. I'm an alien. I'm sorry.
Sacred wisdom.
Jeez.
Well, and I have had other people who've had alien existences, by the way, just so you don't feel.
I've got stories. Hey, I've got a couple of books on that too, so it's all good. Wow, wow, that's cool. So, but people, again, it's having to happen through hypnosis. You're saying, mostly.
It seems. If we can go to, there's like different states of consciousness. So there's like the beta state, which is kind of waking. Then alpha is like falling asleep. Then theta is like hypnosis, or a deeper state. If you can go to those states, then I think this information is much more accessible to us. And so that's why hypnosis is kind of a good vehicle for this.
Is everybody able to be hypnotized?
There's, if somebody wants to block it, if someone is very fearful or resistant, they can definitely block it. So I was at a seminar one time where the guy said, I'm going to make it so you don't like chocolate anymore. And I thought, well, I love chocolate. I'm not going to do that. So I just kind of put up the block, the screens, the shields or whatever, and just said, I'm not going to do that. But generally, yes, pretty much anyone can. They have to be able to follow directions, of course, and they have to be a willing subject. Those are the two main things.
That's fascinating. But now, I've heard that once you are able to be hypnotized, that it's easier the next time. Is that also true?
Yes. Yeah. Each time you go a little deeper, each time you remember a little bit more. So the more people practice things like self-hypnosis, the deeper they're going to go and the more access they're going to have to work with like guides and angels and spirits and totems and things like that.
My brain is a thick wall then, because I've tried and I have not been successful. But okay, so people are going to life between life as well as the afterlife in some of these sessions you're having?
They do, and a lot of times what you're looking at in that time and space is kind of the life review. In other words, what were they supposed to learn in a particular existence, and maybe what their objective or goal is as they move forward into the next life. So it's kind of it can be a very informative area to investigate.
Is it all love and light, or is somebody going to the pits of hell? Just tell it like it is. I really want to hear this, because everything is fluffy, and I'm like, somebody's got to go to hell. I hope Hitler's in hell. I mean, come on. We can't give him light and love, can we?
Well, I hate to break it to you, but it's all pretty much light and love. And, I would ask, one of the first questions I asked when I was working on One Voice Sacred Wisdom was I would ask these clients' guides to tell me the way I had to word it was, is there such a thing as God or universe or creator or source or whatever you want to call it? And if so, what is it? Tell me about it. And the way I had to word it that way, because if I said, is there a God in heaven? Then that kind of implies, okay, there is a God and there is a heaven. But I wanted to be objective in the way I asked these questions. But when they answered the questions, almost always, like 100% pretty much, would say that it's energy, it's in us, and it's all loving and forgiving. So when you have a loving and forgiving energy out there, then there's not really a hell or purgatory or all those things that we're taught in religion.
But some people are truly meant for it, though, James. I mean, there are some people who really take delight in the suffering of another, where you can't help but to wonder, what pit did they crawl out of? They need to go back there. So it's just so, like, it's really disappointing.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, there's a couple things here.
Okay.
One is the life review is actually really crucial.
Okay.
So you've heard about people like in near-death experiences when they die and they see their life play out before them, like a movie, right?
Yep.
Okay. So what happens in that life review is you can either look at everything that happened and say, wow, I was a good person and I helped a lot of people and, I gave a lot and I did so much, I taught people, and feel really good about it. Or you can look at that life review and go, oh boy, was I ever a jerk? And I swindled people and I used people and, I did everything for me, I was really selfish or whatever. And then you decide this, not the energy or universe or karma or anything else. You say, all right, hit me harder next time. In other words, give me a life where I don't have as many tools and the lessons hit me even harder. So those people who, would seem to get away with everything, they are choosing for themselves in the next existence to have a more difficult life so that they learn.
And I have a challenge for you, James. I'd love for you to hypnotize a fully possessed, levitating person and to pull them out of this reality and to see where the heck they came from if there's nothing evil. If they could levitate and contort, I am just like, where did that come from? I mean, do you think that there are spirits that may not be quite human that are doing these things then?
I guess that, in talking to the guides, what they basically said is, there's not really like a devil or there's not like a Satan or those kind of energies. That's more of a man-made concept.
Oh, and they're good at it then, because men could be awful. It's like, did we invent this or what? We've really got to get it patented then, because this is rare in the universe apparently. It's just, I don't know. But, there's a good question here in the chat room. Mary Sutherland is asking if you've ever had anybody go past the light in hypnosis.
I don't really have them do that. I mean, in terms of, because I don't want, to lose somebody and not have them come back. What I do have them experience, though, is they can feel their body. I can help them sort of assist with this, where they have the, whatever energy they're working with, or fill their body with like love and light and essence of like the pure love that people would experience, say, when they've passed on. And it's a really amazing feeling, because people sometimes come out of that and say, I didn't want to come back. That felt so great. That felt so good. So I have them kind of feel that essence or that spirit energy. And it's really something that's, I guess, pretty profound from what my clients tell me.
Nice. Well, hold on. You said from what they tell you. You mean you've not gone there?
I've tried to experience it on my own. I don't know anybody who does exactly what I do, to tell you the truth. But I've kind of experienced it on my own, and it is pretty amazing. But I feel like, you talked about levitating. These people are levitating in a good way. I feel like it's almost like they're rising out of the chair, and I'd be like, I want to experience it to that level. That would be great.
If they speak Latin, run. So I was going to ask for a referral. I'm like, gosh, I've been thinking it would be awfully cool to get hypnotically regressed by someone who was really good at it, and to look at life between life, because I have a lot of forward memories in general. And it's bizarre. I remember before I was born. I don't know why others don't. But it's just, it's one of those things. And I'm like, well, shoot, imagine if I could be hypnotized. I could really pull some stuff forward, but I don't know who to trust. But now I know it's only you. So I have to go where there's little oxygen in the mountains of Colorado, and be half anoxic to be able to be hypnotized. Darn. And
I'm sure there's a lot of good hypnotists. I know there's a lot of good hypnotists out there. I'm not saying I'm the only one to do this, but this is kind of a new thing for me that I've just kind of,
the duality
been working with. Yeah, so it's kind of new, and I'm sure it's going to spread out as time goes on, because people are going to be interested in working with their guides.
Huh. Okay. So a quick question for you. So you've taken people to the other side. You've taken people to in between their lives. You've taken them to the other side of the planet while they're sitting there talking to you. Mm-hmm. Are there any specific places, I don't know, on another plane or dimension that is easily recognizable by more than one client of yours, that everybody seems to go to this location or something that looks like that? Is there anything that stands out?
So far in doing this, they kind of go in different areas, different places. There's the only one similarity I've seen is sort of almost like being out and part of the solar system, like being a star or something. They describe that. I've had several clients describe almost like they're a star out in the universe, and I don't know exactly what that is. It's hard because they don't have the words to describe it. I say in the book that most people, they'll say, oh, it was kind of like this movie, because there aren't human experiences to really put words to it. It's more like you have to say, well, here's something that was really kind of fantastical in a movie, and that's what it's like.
Well, do they zip past other planets and go, wow, there's green guys on that one? I mean, does anybody come back with that kind of revelation?
Well, no, I've had people, like I said, that have gone to other existences where they were sort of alien existences, I guess you might say, where they, their past life or their other realm was on another planet.
Yeah. Huh, very fascinating stuff. I'm curious about something I know as like a crystal city. Anybody ever report something like that? Looks like
funny. In the book, actually, I do have somebody who described something just like that.
See that? That's what I was digging for, because I've seen it. I'll have to share more with you about that. So others have more than one, or?
I can only think of one, and she was describing it, said something about like the crystal things in Superman, and it's been a while since I've seen it.
Yes, like the crystal fortress of Superman, exactly. Yes. Well, we're going to get to our next break here, James. And you guys, you're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. We're speaking with James Schwartz about everything on the in-between. And I was just trying to blow his mind during the commercial break. It's all good. But I mean, I was talking to him in regards to duality and remembering things that are just not quite of the norm. And for myself, I remember before I was born and all these odd things, and having people recognize you from what you recall as being more of a dream, but they saw you someplace else. And it's just bizarre. How does that happen? I've heard of people having been spotted in 2 different locations, but they're like, no, I wasn't there. And that's how I feel. But to me, it seemed like a dream. Is that part of this dual existence you're speaking of?
Well, the way that I can explain it, I don't know if this will shed light on it or not, but here's a example that I got from working with the guides, was that we are like a power station. So your soul or your essence or your energy or your higher self, whatever you want to call it, is like a power station. And it's got all these arms that reach out, sort of like a power station would have cables that would reach out and light up different houses. Well, it's lighting up different existences we have. Now, some of those existences are, might be in other realms, but on Earth there may be several existences. And so you can be in these multiple places kind of at the same time. And so there might be, like I said, a part of you doing this show right now, but another part of you is this professor in England, and so
I'd be eating ice cream somewhere.
Okay, well, maybe eating ice cream. And there's the part of you that's the rock star too, right?
Oh, that too, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, maybe some people are able to move between those different existences easier than others. Maybe a lot of people are just really stuck in the human body and the human existence, but maybe there's people who can move a little freer and can see this and can experience this than others.
Fascinating. Is there something that you teach or instruct people to be able to realize their fullest potential to do something or be aware of this duality or the existences of other dimensions?
Well, a lot of times I'll do something where I have people go back to the between state and kind of look at why they're here and, what their purpose is, what their contract might be, that kind of thing. And so that way they can look at the bigger picture and go, okay, I understand. Here's my reason for being on the planet and what I'm here to do. And that really helps people with their understanding quite a bit.
Fascinating. Now, you also have done extensive work in an area that, it's just kind of mind-blowing. Infertility in patients. How does that work with your other work?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of blocks that go on in infertility. And when I say blocks, like someone will want to have a baby, but they might have like emotional blocks or stressors.
Well, that's when you throw your husband out. We understand that.
So they can have, it could be the husband. But they, maybe they've had a couple miscarriages, let's say, or maybe they're afraid of childbirth or something like that. Well, hypnosis is perfect for getting rid of all those blocks or those issues that kind of get in the way. Plus, if you take them to the theta state, you can teach them mind-body healing. And the way I do that, it's sort of based more on Eastern medicine than Western medicine because, I think Eastern medicine is really looking at the roots of all the different, things that are going on in our physical bodies. But then the other piece of this is stress is such a big enemy in terms of when you're trying to get pregnant. What'll happen is people who are stressed, they go into survival mode instead of reproductive mode. And so if we teach them self-hypnosis, we teach them how to relax, and then the stress goes way down, and they can move from survival mode to reproductive mode. So that's why I felt this was really important to talk about, and that's why I did the first book, The Mind-Body Fertility Connection, is because I wanted people to know there's other alternatives to just doing, the medical procedures. There's other ways they can work on this.
Which are very costly, I've heard. The mindbodyfertilityconnection.com, people should check that out, and myhypnotherapy.com. so folks can go there and read along. So when it comes to, I love things about the afterlife, and you were going to talk about this lovely place that I'm very familiar with, a crystal city of sorts. You said that you recall one of your clients having experienced something like that. What did they see, and how did it make them feel?
Well, the existence was, a lot of times you go to these other realms, and it's not like you have an earthly body or a human body. And so when they describe it, a lot of times you'll be in another realm where maybe you're just experiencing love energy, or you're just experiencing peace or something. And so usually a lot of times clients are like, oh, it just feels so good and so peaceful. It's just this sensation that really relaxes them, I guess. And then, like we were talking about, they usually don't have the words to describe it, but she was saying there were all these crystals in this place, this other existence, and she was kind of frustrated, and how do I put it? And that's where she brought up the Superman reference and said it's kind of like crystals in Superman. So,
did she describe the buildings or the shapes of things?
No, just as far as I remember, just the crystals, and that's the piece I remember anyway.
Wow. Any goings on in this place?
I don't remember anything like that either. Yeah. So what was your existence?
Wow.
You said you had a experience with the crystals.
Crystal like city is what I refer to it as, but more of a place of learning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's so neat, and it's kind of something that I've heard of quite a bit from different people. Now, I have another question here in the chat room. They're asking if you know anyone that took or worked with anyone that has taken the spirit drug.
If you have a Lowe's Advantage card, you can get an extra 5% off every day on items big or small. So you can save an extra 5% on a new coat of paint, updating appliances, replacing the flooring, and even save an extra 5% on little things like cleaning supplies, laundry detergent, and air filters. The big to-dos to the everyday essentials. You get an extra 5% savings every day when you use your Lowe's Advantage card. If you don't have one, apply today. All projects have a starting point. Start with Lowe's. Subject to credit approval and can't be combined with any other credit offers. Exclusions apply. See store for details. U.S. only.
DMT. Are you familiar with that?
I guess I'm not. No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That one is something really, really different. Like, it's illegal here in the United States, and a lot of people go to different places to experience it, like, especially those that have experienced things like PTSD or something. And it's just one time, and they are cured. It's something supposedly really tremendous and puts you really in touch with your soul and sorts. If that's if I may define what I know about it, anyways. But so when you go to have these people that come to talk to you that are seeking hypnotherapy, what is their biggest question they seem to have for going to you?
Probably for me, the most common thing I have are people who feel like they're really stuck in life, and that could be,
yeah.
Well, they could be stuck in terms of relationship, or it could be in terms of prosperity, but it can also a lot of times
politics.
Well, yeah, that too. But it could be, they're stuck in terms they feel like they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing here on the planet. That's what it comes down to, is people feel there's sort of a level of frustration. I hear that all the time. It's like, I got a job and it feels like it's okay, but it's not, what I'm really here to do. And so I hear that probably more than anything. I mean, people come to me for all of, I guess, what I call the other stuff. I do smoking cessation and weight management and those kind of things, of course. But a lot of people will come to see me for things like, the infertility or anxiety, or, like I said, being stuck in life. Or a lot of people come for healing because they feel like, they want to know what's the root or the source of what's going on with this physical disharmony. And then because I know, some basics in Eastern medicine, I can also help work with them in terms of mind-body healing. And so we can put that in their self-hypnosis so they feel like they're suddenly taking charge of whatever's going on in their life, and they can process the roots and heal those things, and they can work on healing themselves.
Yeah. It seems there's a lot of extra tension going on in this country. Politics, again. So, do you find a lot of people go to you for like having a weird pain or I don't know, injury that is repetitive, and only to find in a past life or something that's the cause of it?
That'll happen sometimes. Like people, I actually did that myself, where I was having lower back pain the very first time when I went to experience hypnosis. This is long before I knew I was going to do it, and that was one of my questions: was, is there something from a past life that's related to this? And it turned out I went into this past life where I was, I guess, not able to speak. And so they looked at that like, oh, he must be possessed or something like that. Must be a witch or something, or a wizard or something. And I was publicly executed and put like on a meat hook in the town square. And
ouch!
So the meat hook, I guess, was part of the lower back pain. That's what that came up in that past life anyway.
Wow, did they eat you or something? That's crazy.
It was, I think, just a public demonstration to show, this is what happens if you are a bad person.
Must have been Dracula's castle. Goodness, I couldn't even imagine. But, you speak of directly communicating with people's guides. Do your clients, get a good look at what these guides appear as?
Some people have very clear images. With others, it's harder for them to get clear pictures. Sometimes it'll even just be a ball of energy or a ball of light. A lot of times when people bring in angels, they say that the facial features of an angel sometimes are not really clear, but the energy, the tremendous energy that they give off really is clear. Now, you do also have people who have like spirit guides, and spirit guides are like, they look like people, but they look like they're from a different time and place. So you might have like a Native American will come in from 300 years ago or something into their session. And so they usually have a pretty clear visual of those people.
Interesting. Now, I always wonder if these guides go walking around, flapping around naked or something, because in the Christian Bible, it's taught that, when Adam and Eve felt shame is when they covered up. And so when I hear of angelic beings with a long robe or something, I'm like, hey, were they ashamed? So it's like, did they have clothes on? What's going on here? But I think it's so very neat that people are having these connections, and I've heard of things called soul groups, like people incarnate with the same souls. Like you think you bumped into some guy Ted down the street, and he turns out to be a great friend. You're like, well, gosh, that was such great luck that I made this great friend. But then you get hypnotized and you find, I've known this bum for many lifetimes. Is that what you're finding a pattern of as well?
There are what we call soul families, and like you said, soul groups. And so that's one of the reasons this whole process came about, the whole One Voice Sacred Wisdom book and these sessions, is because I would work with people who had maybe lost someone close to them, and that was their fear. It's like, have we lost them for good? Are they really gone? And so I asked that question, and one of the best answers that I got from the guides was someone who said they compared us to like geese. And they said, geese, they fly in a big flock, and then some of them will go off in a different direction. They go feed or whatever, come back, join the group. Then they may go off to some other pond or lake or something, then they come back and join the group. And we're kind of the same way, is that we do apparently keep reincarnating with the same people or your soul family on a regular basis. And so, that person, that sister you're really close to in this life might become your best friend in another existence. And maybe, she's your father or something in another existence. And that loyal warrior that you fought next to in medieval times might be a brother or a best friend in this life or something. So apparently we do move together, yes.
Yeah, no, only one of my sisters thinks she's my dad or the boss of me. So, yeah, there goes duality for you right there. A sister and a boss.
Maybe she was the dad in a past life.
Woohoo, there you go. I have 6 sisters. Pick one. I don't know. It's crazy. But if there was anything, a single thing that you wish you could get across to people about what it is you're learning with all of these hypnotic journeys, what is it that you wish that anybody could really understand?
The guides are begging us to communicate and connect with them. That's the big thing. Every time that we go in and do this, they're saying, we're always here, just ask us. People think we're too busy. We're not. We're here to be with you. We're here to guide you. We're here to support you and give you love and everything. And so a lot of times you find people who are feeling, sort of depressed or feeling lost in life or whatever. They're not connecting with their guides, and they're saying, you've got this whole support network and we're here for you and we want you to do that. And one of the things they brought up, I didn't ask, at the end of sessions, sometimes I'd say, what else do we need to know? What else aren't we paying attention to? And they said, the technology is really distracting you from connecting with them, from connecting with spirit. And, when you look at it on a typical day, we might spend 8 or 10 or 12 or 14 hours in front of our electronic devices, our computers, our phones, our tablets, our TVs, and 0 minutes connecting with, spirit, I guess you might say. And it doesn't mean we have to stop those technology, advances. It just means there's got to be some balance. And they're just saying, start connecting with us because we want to help you evolve. And each individual spirit has this innate desire to evolve.
Oh, what was that? I'm sorry, I was looking at my phone. Anyways, I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. I heard everything. But I know those conversations where you're like, could you just throw your phone in your backpack or your purse or something? It is really, it's a really, really detached kind of world we're living in. I don't know if you saw the cartoon called Wall-E, -E, and the humans become these big, fat, plumpy things that float around on chairs and are only interacting with a screen. And they forget how to be human, and their skeletal insides are tiny and cannot support their big, fat frames. And it's like we're becoming that. This is our future, and it's a very scary one. So I understand for myself when I look at the things that are going on in this world, and we're living this superficial life, looking at screens, communicating through screens, text messages instead of phone calls, and I don't know, the level of darkness in some people is so running rampant out there, and it's like, well, hold on, if you're not looking back at your soul, if you're not thinking about it, if you're not aiming to educate it or nurture it, feed it, let it grow, where are we going to end up? I mean, are we getting dumb and dumber out there? What are we just neglectful? Something's got to change, and it's like, how do you get people to look that way? This new generation, they're very content with their video games and cell phones, and I don't see anything changing with that anytime soon outside of them implanting it right behind their eyeball so they could project it.
Well, I think what gets people's attention is when there are blocks or things aren't going well, or they do have like a physical disharmony in their body. It has to be something like that almost that stops them and makes them go, all right, what do I need to look at? What's the root or what's the source? What's happening here? And that's kind of the way I think, our attention gets drawn to these things. It's almost like for some people, something has to go wrong to get them to kind of look inward.
Like a death. All of a sudden, whoa, where'd they go? Oh my gosh, what did I miss here? what's this thing called a soul again? Yeah. Oh, and then they hate God because that shouldn't have happened. It's like, you should have got educated about this before that happened. That's a shame. So you're do you go and speak anywhere? Do you lecture, or are you just crazy busy with your work?
Kind of a combination of both. I did a talk at a bookstore just the other day, and I've got another one coming up in a couple weeks. One called Talking Books Plus in Denver, so that's going to be on the 18th of August. And a couple other things in the works there. I know in May of 2018, I'm going to be a speaker at a paranormal conference. That's also yeah. So
which one?
It's actually, I think it's the first time around that they're doing this paranormal conference in Denver. So that'll be kind of exciting. So yes, I do. I've got like a PowerPoint presentation where I talk about all the different questions and answers that, my questions, and then I actually use a lot of the answers that the guides gave us during, these sessions, and talk about them, discuss them, let the audience ask their questions and everything. So that's all something else I do as well.
Love it. Let me know if they need someone to talk about demons. I'll be there. But it's not all love and light in my reality. That's all I could tell you. But I wish it was. I really do. I find it absolutely intriguing that people are seeking you out for these types of things. It gives me new hope, but I have a sinking feeling it's not 18-year-olds and 20-somethings. I think it's people that have a little bit more depth as far as in life experience. Am I wrong? I mean, what is there a certain age group you're seeing coming your way?
It's like you said, people with more life experience, people who are kind of searching for more answers. So, but I do see occasional younger people who come in, and it's kind of difficult for them because they're having trouble finding that spirituality or that evolution in some of their peers. But there's more and more people who are seeking this out, so, and which I think is great. That's fabulous. The more that each of us evolves, and we raise our consciousness, then it influences everybody around us, and it influences our collective consciousness, and of course makes us a better world for us all.
I want to learn how to do the Vulcan mind meld. That's my goal. I want to get hypnotized to pull forth the force in me. I just think it would be neat. If there's a way that you could tune people in, like what would you suggest for people to do to go within and to seek on their own, if it's self-hypnosis or what?
Even working with kind of a meditation thing where people find a quiet place that feels like they're, that's spiritual or sacred to them. That might be a garden that's near their house, or maybe it's a waterfall in the forest, or maybe it's just even a place in their own house that's quiet and safe. And then to sort of get quiet, to really be present, and then to try and start a conversation with their guides or angels or spirits. And for different people, it's going to be whomever they call in might be a little bit different. If somebody who's really connected to the earth, then it might be an owl or something that comes in, or a wolf or something. But if it's somebody who's maybe had a lot of religious input in their early life, maybe they feel comfortable with angels, and an angel's going to come in or whatever. But you have to start at some point sort of opening the door for this communication to happen, maybe even just closing your eyes and just trying to connect somehow. And you have to understand that it may not be the first time or the first couple times, but the more you practice, the better it gets. And, it's just, I tell people it's like those monks from Tibet. They didn't get to where they are by just doing this once or twice. You spend time with that connection, and then eventually it grows, and before you know it, you're able to start having some dialogues and some communication, and then it kind of opens this whole new world for people.
Wow. One Voice, Sacred Wisdom, and the Mind-Body Fertility Connection. This has been a fascinating conversation. I can't believe we've already come to the bottom of this show. I want to thank you so much, James, for coming on. And what's the best website for people to get a hold of you at if they want to make use of your services or get your books?
The best one for my services is www.r for Rocky, M for Mountain Hypnotherapy, so rmhypnotherapy.com. If they want to know about the One Voice Sacred Wisdom book, they can actually put that title in as all one word, so it's www.onevoicesacredwisdom.com.
All right.
And that'll give us some links. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys, this has been another fantastic show. Remember, you can catch me here every Friday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. You've been listening to me, Heidi Hollis, the Outlander. Remembering, always if it's weird, we're here. Good night, everybody.
If you have a Lowe's Advantage card,